Hi, welcome to Let's Talk. This is a show that aims to introduce you to some of the very interesting people who happen to live on the East End. My guest today is Sara Davison. Many of you will know Sara. She was I'm going to let you explain who you are, but we're going to start with the very first picture because I want people to know where you come from and how you ended up in East Hampton. So the very first picture that I have is this. All those cuties. And tell me about that.
Yeah, so that is me in the upper left in my kindergarten class at the old Westbury Friends Meeting Kindergarten.
Uh-huh.
And I'm one of two girls in the class, and all the rest were boys, and I quickly learned that I had to befriend the boys in order to not get picked on.
So you grew up in,
Well, I grew up in Seacliff, but my mother was a teacher at that school, and
Uh-huh.
so I went to nursery and kindergarten there.
okay, so you are a Long Islander.
Long Islander, yeah.
Okay, because I've only known you since you moved here, so
Right.
I don't know anything about your background. And here's another one of you when you were young, and where's
Yeah.
this?
And I'm surrounded by my older sister and my younger brother, and we're on the beach in East Hampton, having one of those wonderful summer days,
Mhm.
idyllic summer days that seem to go on forever. But my parents bought property out here in 1959 with the idea of building a summer cottage. And my father built the house, and while he was slaving away, banging nails, my mother would take us to the beach
beach.
or on all sorts of wonderful adventures, the nature walk.
Where all the other mothers and kids were in the
Uh,
50s, that's where we all were,
Exactly.
right? With our
And,
moms.
we just had a wonderful time, and in a couple of years, my father's house was finished, and we could actually stay the whole summer and live in it, and it's still I still live in on that property.
So you're in East Hampton?
Yeah.
Mhm. That's great. Did you love summers?
Oh,
I know,
I
we love
never wanted
summers.
them to end.
Summers were wonderful here.
They're just,
Just all day at the beach and it was a wonderful time for sure. Okay, tell me about this one.
so that's my junior year in high school. I went to a Quaker boarding school in Barnesville, Ohio, and I'm the third from, there I am, yes.
It's
my
third from the left in the second row, right?
Second row, right, and the sex,
I recognize the 60s hair.
Yeah.
Whatever.
you know, I mean, this was a very small boarding school. It was a farm in rural Ohio, and I as a Long Island girl, I just always loved nature and the outdoors, and I wanted to live on a farm. I wanted to experience what farm life was, so I went to this Quaker boarding school, and they had a Jersey herd of cows and an apple orchard, and we had to do barn crew.
Wow.
I just loved it, and so that's my junior class, and a lot more girls since kindergarten, which was nice.
Yes.
The woman I'm sitting next to has become, is a lifelong friend. You make lifelong friends from a close educational experience like that.
It looks very similar to my own high school class.
Uh-huh.
Recognize a lot of the hairstyles,
yeah.
the looks, right? That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see what I have next. From there we go to,
Yeah, so that's me hiking at the Grand Canyon, and this is the summer between my freshman and sophomore year of college. I went on a tour around the United States with two friends. We got something called the Greyhound Ameripass.
okay, I
And
remember that.
You remember the
Mhm, I
Ameripass?
do.
It was a great deal, and I am so glad I did this. It allowed you to get on any bus and go anywhere in the United States and Canada. And we covered a lot of territory, and we had our backpacks, and we would just hike, sleep in our tents or sleep in the bus station if we had to, if, the timing didn't work, sleep on the bus. We just got to where we wanted to go, and we covered the northern route and the southern route, and here we are at the Grand Canyon.
Now, what year would this have been? 60?
Oh, no, that was in the 70s.
70s?
That would have been 74.
74, okay.
Mhm. What a beautiful spot.
Yeah, I can see that it was a beautiful spot. Okay, let's see. This is you playing an oboe or
An
what is it?
alto recorder.
Recorder, okay.
And my sister's on the violin and my mother is playing the piano. We're doing some kind of a trio together of probably early music. And my mother was a piano teacher.
Oh.
So all of us had to study the piano, of course, and other instruments as well. I studied the violin, the recorder, and the piano. And we all sang together. And so it was a lovely experience to make music with your family.
Yes, it sounds like my family.
Yeah.
We've done that too, so.
And then, of course, it stays with you your whole life. And,
absolutely.
you know, I sing in the Choral Society of the Hamptons now. It's just a great love of mine. But I don't know what piece of music we're playing there, but we're obviously having some fun.
Yes, it looks great. So where's your sister now?
Oh, she lives in Huntington
Okay,
and has a little place down in Florida as well.
nice. Did she follow in your footsteps, what you were doing, or?
Well, she was the older
Oh,
sister.
she's the older, okay.
And I did not follow in her footsteps.
Okay.
Yeah.
She looks a lot like you, though. You look a
Yeah.
lot alike, right?
Mhm.
I don't know if you look like your mom or your dad, but
Yeah.
that's a great picture, making music together. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me about this one. This is now you're in East Hampton. Now,
Yeah.
how did you happen to come to East Hampton?
Well, that was a big move in my life and a very important move. After college and then graduate school, I got an advanced degree, a master's degree in botany and ecology, and I went to work for the Nature Conservancy right out of graduate school. I was very fortunate. I was in the right place at the right time. And I worked for the Pennsylvania, New Jersey office of the Nature Conservancy outside of Philadelphia. And in 1987, the job for the South Fork Shelter Island chapter of the Nature Conservancy opened up. And I said, I'm going to apply for that job because it was my home, right?
Sure.
And I was very lucky I got the job and started out here as the chapter director. And met all sorts of wonderful new people, you know, and it was a familiar landscape and territory to me, but I was seeing it from a whole different side, not as a place to relax and vacation, but a place to work. Changed it.
Yes.
In a good way, really. And so this was an annual event at the Elaine Benson Gallery in Bridgehampton, which unfortunately is no longer there. There's Elaine.
I remember her.
Yeah.
I worked as a travel agent, and I used to sell her tickets.
Oh.
So I remember her. She was a very nice lady.
She was fantastic, and she loved to bring people together at the gallery. And so on the far right is Bob DeLuca, who was a relatively new director, president of the group for the South Fork at the time. He's still the director, and they're now the group for the East End. He does a fantastic job. And we were honoring Eric Lustbader, who's a local writer, lives in Southampton, and it was this annual event, Elaine, called the Environment Benefit. And we'd sell tickets and people would come and buy art and learn about what the group and the Nature Conservancy were up to.
Was at her gallery?
This was at her gallery.
Bridgehampton, right?
Yeah, in Bridgehampton.
Yeah.
And as I say, it's no longer there, which is a shame.
You look so young.
I was very young.
You look like you're still in high school.
I know. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so now.
This is a few years later at the Nature Conservancy, and you know, the Conservancy was known mostly for acquiring land and then managing land, and of course, it's a global organization now and has gone on to lead in many, many policy issues and new environmental initiatives. But when I was there, it was mostly land acquisition and land management, and this was a day when we were doing a controlled burn at the Hempstead Plains. As you know, there are a lot of ecosystems on Long Island that are fire dependent. They need fire to thrive, and our pine barrens out here, but the native grasslands as well. And in the absence of fire, because of development, these ecosystems are suffering. So this was one of the first, it may have even been the first, I can't remember, but I'm wearing what's called a Nomex suit. It's a fireproof suit. And we were setting fire to the Hempstead Plains, which is, if you can burn the Hempstead Plains safely, you can burn anywhere because it's surrounded by highways and, Nassau Coliseum, all these places.
Right.
But you would burn a little bit at a time, and it would rejuvenate the grassland. So during my tenure, we burned at the Hempstead Plains, at the Mashomic Preserve on Shelter Island, in the Pine Barrens, and it's an important management tool.
Well, when I was young, they used to do control burns going to Montauk, on the way down to Montauk, and from Amagansett on the ocean side, that by Bluff Road.
Wow.
You used to be able to drive down Bluff Road and all you saw was the ocean.
Yes.
And now it makes me chuckle because there are a couple of benches facing all the overgrowth because they don't do that anymore,
Right.
which is too bad because the views were just amazing.
Yes.
Across the dunes and Montauk as well. You could see
yeah.
forever,
Yeah.
when you got
Yeah,
at
Montauk was. So burning's, it's an important tool. It's very labor intensive. You have to be very careful, obviously. You can't burn if the conditions are not correct. And we know it as, of course, a national, global issue now with climate change and the lack of controlled burning out west and the problems that have happened.
Well, I wish we could still do it out
Yeah.
here a little more. I would love to see some of those views again, but.
Yes.
Okay, so now this is an interesting picture. This is not local, right?
That is in the Lake District in England. I'm traveling with my friend, and we went to the home. This is the home of Beatrix Potter, the writer and illustrator. She was such an amazing woman. She not only authored and illustrated all of the Peter Rabbit books and all the others, but she was a great conservationist. And, she was that creative person, but she became a businesswoman and marketed and merchandised her materials, which was unheard of a woman doing back at the turn of the century. And she was a farmer. There, I go back to my love of farming. And she preserved all these farms that she bought, and she gave them to the Lake District Trust or something like that. So she was sort of an idol, so it was a great chance to go to her farm, Hilltop Farm, and the Peter Rabbit garden is still laid out, with the watering can.
Sure. I used to love to read those books to my kids.
Yeah.
They're the best, and the illustrations
They
are
are.
so beautiful.
Yeah, timeless.
Yeah.
And so I'm having a wonderful time.
I bet you are. That looks great. Okay, let's see what this one is. Actually, I have two here.
Okay.
Oh,
Yep.
and they both go this way. Let's get them up so you can see them.
So let's
Tell me
see.
about these.
The one on the right with the dog, so after Nature Conservancy, I became the executive director of the Animal Rescue Fund of the Hamptons, which is right here in Wainscott. And I was their second director, and we, just a wonderful organization, came from, you can remember the early days when people would abandon their pets for this after the summer and leave them at the dump, and
It was terrible.
just awful. And ARF really can take credit for sort of helping change that attitude that pets were not to be disposed of and that they're part of your family. And so we did a lot towards trying to get dogs and cats adopted and grow the program while I was there. And this is a picture of me with a pit bull whose name is Pretty Girl, and she was rescued from a dog fighting ring in Hempstead.
Aw.
And we had partners all over who rescued animals from Hurricane Katrina was a big moment for ARF. We took busloads of animals up from that disaster. But we had local disasters right here with these puppy mills and dog fighting rings. And anyway, so she was a lovely dog who came to ARF, and I'm getting to know her there, I guess. I didn't adopt her. I adopted many other dogs.
Yeah, it must be hard.
It was very hard. And then this is a picture. I went on the board of the East Hampton Library. Tom Toomey asked me to join. This was years ago. I can't even remember, but I served, I think, for 13, 15 years on the board. And it was a wonderful experience. We are so fortunate to have this library. You know, it's just a great resource. But the annual Authors Night was always a big event, and tent filled with incredible authors. And someone shot a picture of me with Dr. Ruth. I think she was just such a great character, and that was the year she wrote Teens and Sex Today. So she covered sex from all ages.
She was a character.
And she was a great character. So
that's a great picture.
I had a lot of fun meeting her. Yeah.
Those are great events.
They really
if
are.
anybody's never been to one of those book nights in the summer,
Yeah.
they're really amazing. The Authors Night, they call it, right?
Authors Night, and it's under a big tent, and the authors are there to sign the book for you. The publishers donate the books, so the library gets all the profits. And you see everyone from the community comes. It's a very affordable event and has great food and drink.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
Really fun.
Always the hottest night of the year.
Yeah, that's true. That's
But
true.
I have bought a lot of Christmas gifts.
Yeah, well, you've
at
been
those.
there as an author,
I
right?
have been there
With-
before,
with
yeah.
your-
And I've been there as a, guest buying all my Christmas
Yeah, it's a great place
gifts.
for Christmas presents.
It is a great place for Christmas gifts, because you can have them autographed to the person that
Exactly.
you're gonna give the book to, which is really nice, I think.
Unique.
Yes, I think it's great. Okay, so tell me about this picture.
So I went on to, after I left RF, I became the executive director for the Friends of Georgica Pond Foundation, which was a brand new startup, not-for-profit. Worked in the not-for-profit sector my entire career, obviously, which has been a great pleasure. And I'm here with our Suffolk County legislator, Ann Welker, and there's a satellite photograph of Georgica Pond behind me. This is at the annual meeting this past August, and Ann is giving me a proclamation, if you will, for my services. So I worked for Friends for 9 years. I'm still with them. I'm just stepping down at the end of the year. And we started a water quality restoration program there. As you know, our nearshore water, ponds and bays have been really impacted by contaminants, runoff, and nitrogen that comes from our septic systems and our
Right.
lawns and gardens. And so we initiated a major action plan to reach out to everyone in the watershed to use less fertilizer and to upgrade their septic systems. And it's all been done under the science-based decision-making from Dr. Gobler's lab at Stony Brook,
Right.
right here in Southampton. So we've had some really wonderful, positive results, and it's a big project. Georgica Pond is almost 300 acres. It's bigger than a lot of people realize, and the watershed's about 4,000 acres.
It's huge, yeah.
So, because the watershed feeds all those creeks.
Right.
And so it's a big job. It's not over yet, but there's a lot to do. But this is not unique to Georgica Pond, Accabonac Harbor, 3 Mile Harbor. All of our nearshore water bodies need this kind of outreach. And fortunately, we have the town and the county to help, leadership on the part of the town and the village, and there are grants available to homeowners.
And in fact, I know, and this is something that we can do a little PSA here, because I've put in an innovative alternative septic system. You have done that, and that's something that you can get grants to almost cover the entire, I could almost cover the entire thing.
Right.
For some people, it would cover the entire cost.
Right.
But I had some landscaping issues, so I had to put a little more in it myself. But the town, the county, and the state all have grants, and they'll walk you through the process. It's a little bit intimidating when you try to jump into it, but the town is great about walking you through and also the companies that do the systems that put the systems in, this is to replace your septic system, your cesspools with a real septic system that takes out the nitrogen, right? Just so people understand what we're talking about. And the people that install them do a great job of helping you work your way through the paperwork and, you know, submitting what you need to submit. And really, we didn't need to put any money out. It all came from the state and the county and the town directly to the
Contractor.
installer, the contractor. So it shouldn't be too intimidating to people. It's a great thing to do for if you love the water out here and you love Hook Pond and Georgica Pond and Town Pond and all of those water bodies. You know, it's a great thing that you can do to help, because even if you're not in close to one of those, you'd be surprised at the watershed is so large. So yeah, I think
I
it's a
couldn't
great
have said
thing.
it better myself,
Oh, God.
Barbara. I mean, this is so important for
It's so
everyone in
important.
East Hampton, and we all live in a watershed. So you may
Absolutely.
be a little closer to a body of water or further away. What you do on your land seeps into our groundwater, which is also our drinking water,
Absolutely.
and then enters these ponds. So the septic system upgrade is the number one thing people can do. And as you say, there's a lot of help out there, and there's incentive grants. Depending on where you live, you could almost get up to $40,000
Right.
to do it, and it's really worth it.
Yeah, we got the full amount from the county, state, and the town, because where we live, it's feeding into Hook Pond.
You're right there,
And
yeah.
I know that from the research that was done, there are about 80 old-fashioned cesspools between me and Hook Pond.
Mm-hmm.
So all of those are feeding into the pond, and if we could get all those people to put these systems in, it would be such a great thing. So the more people know about that and understand it, the better.
And I would echo what you said about the town of East Hampton. They're so helpful and so efficient. You know, if you reach out to them, and there's a simple one-page form just to get started, and after that, they'll definitely hold your hand and work you through the process.
I actually just downloaded some of the forms for someone else who was asking me about it, and I just went onto the town website, and you can see it on the town website. You just download the forms, you can fill them out. And I actually took mine because there were some issues I was confused about. I took them to the person that was going to install the system for me, and she practically finished it for me. I mean, she finished filling out the forms, whatever I didn't know, she told me. And she faxed them all to the town. She did so much work to get this done. It was a huge, you know, load off of
That's
mine.
great to hear.
Yeah, so she was terrific, and I'm sure all of the installers, you know,
Yeah.
you get a list, the town and the county give you a list of installers that you can use. So I really would encourage everybody who's in East Hampton to look into this. If you have an old-fashioned cesspool, it would be great to look into one of these systems. And so far, I mean, we were pumping our cesspool multiple times a year because the water table is so high where I live.
Right.
And we haven't done it since we've installed the system, so that's been great,
Great,
you know.
great.
So that I'm on board with you on this. I
Yeah.
think that's the best. So tell me what's happening now? Are you retired? After you're done with the Friends of Georgia?
At the end of the year, I'll be retired. Fred Thiel, our outgoing state assemblyman, is going to take over at Friends of Georgica Pond, so that's very exciting. And
Yeah.
I'm thrilled that he agreed to do that. I just was elected to be president of the Choral Society of the Hamptons.
Oh, wonderful.
So I'll take on a little more responsibility there. We have a big holiday concert coming up on December 15th at the Bridgehampton Presbyterian. Sometimes we sing at your church.
Yes, I know that.
And I'm staying right here. I'm where I want to be, in the woods, in nature,
Yeah.
in East Hampton.
You're gonna stay here
and-
forever? Or do you have a future goal to retire somewhere, or?
No, I plan to stay here for the time being.
I'm glad to hear that, because we're
Yeah.
happy to have you here.
Yeah, well,
You've been a
thank you.
wonderful member of the community, really. You are
Thank-
one of those people who gives back so much, and we appreciate that very much. At the end of every interview, I like to do a James Lipton. Did you watch James Lipton on Inside the Actors Studio? Did you ever watch that show? It
No.
was one of my favorite shows. Anyway, he, at the end, had a series of questions that he asked, and my favorite one was, when you get to the pearly gates, what would you like to hear God say to you?
Well, I think he would thank me for
think
one
so.
thing, and for helping the earth and
Absolutely.
its creatures. And I hope he would welcome me.
I would hope so too. I'm sure he will. I'm sure he will. It's been such a pleasure to have Sara Davison with me today, and I want to thank her for her time and for her story that she shared with us. I think everyone in East Hampton has such an interesting story of whether they were born here or whether they came here. They have a great story. I want to thank my sponsor, Marshall and Sterling of East Hampton Insurance, and I want to thank the staff and crew here at LTV for their work and for LTV for providing community access for us here in East Hampton. So thank you very much for joining us today, and please join us again for another episode of Let's Talk.